Science Guy.
Have you ever wondered what everything around you is made of? Well, the answer is atoms. Atoms are the basic building block for all the matter we see around us. These atoms are so small that you couldn't see them unless you used a very strong microscope. There are 118 different types of atoms, called elements. I'm sure you've seen a periodic table, but do you know what it means? The elements are listed on the periodic table of elements in order to keep them organized. It's a list of all the different kinds of atoms that can be found on Earth. For example, helium, which makes your balloons float, and oxygen, so that you can breathe. The periodic table is organized into different groups based on how reactive they are.
Now you know what an atom is, but what are atoms themselves made of? The number of protons an atom has determines which element it is. Each element has an atomic number which is equal to the number of protons. For example, there's 8 protons in oxygen, so its atomic number is 8. The atomic number is shown on the periodic table in the top left of the element. Neutrons would have a neutral charge in the nucleus with the protons acting to keep the atom stable with all those other extremely charged particles.
The nucleus is the center of the atom. It's where you can find the protons and the neutrons. It's also very, very small.
If this was the nucleus of the atom, then this would be the whole atom.
Each element also has an atomic mass, which is the number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus. For example, this atom has an atomic mass of 5 because it has 2 neutrons and 3 protons. Think about magnets for a second. One side is negative, the other is positive. The positive and negative parts are attracted together. The same thing happens for positively charged protons and negatively charged electrons. The protons attract the electrons towards them, making the electrons hang around the protons in a sort of cloud.
What happens when the charges from elements interact with each other? A bond is the attraction of 2 atoms or molecules together. This keeps them together kind of like glue. Now you know what bonding is, but what about the different types of bonds? We have a few examples. First up is ionic bonds. Ionic bonds are when an element gives another element some of its electrons, so that both elements will have a full outer shell. Sharing is caring, and that is exactly what covalent bonds do. Now you must be wondering, what are covalent bonds? Covalent bonds are when elements share electrons instead of giving or taking them. This allows them both to have full outer shells. You've learned about ionic and covalent bonds, but what about hydrogen bonds? Hydrogen bonding is when partially negative charge of one atom in a polar molecule is attracted to the partially positive charge of another. This is what gives water its properties.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.